Good evening, everyone. I'm Kubrali, and you're watching Awaz News. Tonight, I'll be taking you to top news across Canada.
Etobicoke School placed under lockdown as police investigate reports of person armed with knife. Masks will once again be required in Hamilton public schools. Canadians look to side hustles to make up for inflation pressure, but at what cost? Toronto police investigating early morning murder on Danforth Avenue. Man seriously injured after daylight stabbing downtown. Transit Union calls on TTC to do more to protect its members after operator assaulted. Federal Court of Appeal upholds all but one rule on airline compensation.
These were the headlines, and now let's go through the details.
A man has been transported to hospital with serious injuries following a daylight stabbing in downtown Toronto on Tuesday. Toronto police say the stabbing occurred in the Sherbourne Street and Dundas Street East area at around 12:45 p.m. A man was located and transported to a trauma center with serious injuries. A suspect was also located and arrested, according to police, who remain on scene to investigate the incident. Police say to expect delays in the area. Toronto Police Homicide Squad is investigating an early morning murder on Danforth Avenue. The incident happened outside a Toronto Community Housing Corporation property at 1275 Danforth Avenue, just east of Greenwood Avenues. Toronto paramedics told CP24 that they were called to the low-rise apartment building around 2:30 a.m. and transported one person in critical condition to a trauma center. Speaking to the media at the scene, Duty Inspector Salim Hussain said officers located a man in his 50s with obvious injuries inside the building. Hussain said officers did CPR on the man until paramedics arrived at the scene and continued performing life-saving measures. The victim was rushed by emergency run to a local trauma center but was pronounced dead there, he said. Toronto police initially thought that the victim had been stabbed, but at the time, they cannot confirm how the man was killed. Hussain said police have contoured off a large area as they work to determine the exact location where the offense occurred. He noted that there is a large blood trail leading from the building that is part of their investigation. Forensic identification officers are now at the scene. No suspect information is available at this time. The investigation is going on. A secondary school in Etobicoke was briefly placed down under a lockdown order on Tuesday afternoon as police investigated reports of a person with a knife in the area. The lockdown at Lakeshore Collegiate Institute was announced by Toronto District School Board shortly after 3 p.m. Students then began being escorted out of the school in groups at around 4 p.m. Few details have been released so far. However, one man who spoke with CP24 said that he intervened a fight between three high school-aged individuals near the school grounds and then saw one of them with a knife as they left the area. He described the knife as a mini machete with a long blade. Basically, it was a girl and her boyfriend or whatnot fighting with someone else over a scooter, or I don't know what it was, but it became a serious fight, he said. I just did what I thought was right. My cousin came to help me, and that is where it ended. Police say that officers are currently at the scene investigating. It is not known whether any arrests have been made. The city has moved out the last remaining residents of a temporary downtown shelter hotel as it prepares to turn the property back over to its owners. The Novotel location at 45 The Esplanade was leased by the city in February 2021 in the order to create much-needed additional shelter space at the height of the pandemic. The city said in October that they needed to clear residents from the site by the end of December because the owners plan to resume using it as a regular hotel. The city subsequently said that they would need to clear residents out by December 6th in order to vacate the property by the end of the lease term, which is December 31st. The city said additional staff were brought in to work with residents on housing plans, and regular ID and tax clinics were offered on site. Support was provided to residents with their moves on the agreed upon dates. Relocations were voluntary and residents were able to decline referrals offered if they choose to, the city said. Community workers expressed concern last week that the closure of the temporary shelter site was creating chaos for some residents who might not have anywhere to go and could be left in cold just as winter settles. All residents had been cleared from the property by around 2 p.m. Tuesday. According to the city, 168 were referred to other shelters, 44 were moved into housing, 13 were discharged to their locations, such as health facilities or long-term care facilities, and 26 people left on their own without referrals. The city has acknowledged that the shelter system is facing extraordinary pressures and has recently made more space by reducing the physical distancing that was put in place during the pandemic in order to curb the spread of the infection. A union representing Frontline Toronto Transit Commission (TTC) workers is speaking out about the need for better protection for its members after an operator was allegedly attacked in Etobicoke. Amalgamated Transit Union ATU Local 113 says a female operator was assaulted and robbed by a masked man while on duty at Long Branch Loop in Etobicoke at around 10 a.m. on Monday. The TTC confirmed the incident took place and that operator had their phone stolen. While obviously shaken, the operator thankfully reported not being physically harmed, the TTC said in a statement to CP24.com. Both the TTC and ATU say Toronto police are investigating the incident. However, police have not provided any suspect information. ATU Local 113 says it's the second attack on TTC worker in less than a week and it's calling on the TTC to do more to prevent all forms of violence towards transit workers. Any violent attack on a worker at their job is a tragedy. The fact that they happen again and again is a catastrophe, the union said in a statement to CP24.com. The TTC says it takes every report of assault and abuse seriously, adding that it will continue to work with the union partners in joint health and safety committees, where assault mitigation is regularly addressed. ATU Local 113 says their highest priority is consistent and proper enforcement for those who commit acts of violence or harassment on the TTC, with an increased focus on communication and coordination with TTC special constables to aid with deterrence and detection. The union says it convinced the TTC to create a comprehensive safety strategy earlier this year after a string of violent attacks on transit operators in the city. For its part, the TTC says it has implemented new strategies based on operator feedback to enhance safety for workers and riders alike. As a result of COVID-19, we have redesigned and installed larger operator barriers, and as part of continuous improvement, we are prototyping other shield designs based on operator feedback, the TTC said. Canadians' budgets are being stretched thin as the cost of living climbs, and to compensate, some are taking on a side hustle. From reselling used items or dog walking to taking shifts driving for delivery services and acting as a brand ambassador, there are plenty of ways to earn some extra cash. Erin Rappaport, a Montreal-based human resources generalist, has made extra money in few different ways. Rappaport has worked as ambassador for various companies, offering free samples and proving product information at famous sites around Montreal, such as the Bell Centre. She also uses reselling platforms such as Poshmark and Facebook Marketplace to sell used shoes, clothing, and furniture from around the house. New data from professional service company Accenture found that 41% of Canadians plan to take up a side hustle such as babysitting, dog walking, and selling items online to earn additional income before the holidays. Another 39%, they would take on additional work hours to make up the extra cash, according to the survey of 1,510 Canadians who had purchased an item for personal use in the last 6 months. Whether it is to save money in the long term or the short term, the first thing to do is to indicate the pressure point of a budget, said Annie Arbor, spokeswoman of the Credit Counseling Society. Then understand how much time is available for the side hustle and what strengths could be used to make additional income, said Arbor. However, there are additional factors to consider in pursuit of additional income, such as reporting the earnings and claiming deductions and making sure there is not a conflict of interest with the primary source of income. Having a side hustle grew in popularity when many people had more time on their hands during COVID-19 lockdowns. And for those who were laid off during the pandemic, their side hustle became a full-time reality. One side hustle that became particularly popular during the pandemic was gig economy work, such as driving for a ride-share company or a food delivery service. Often having to navigate traffic and challenging weather conditions, Scott said she injured her knee and had to switch to delivering on foot. Workers in gig economy are considered private contractors, which means they are not entitled to similar employment protections as other workers. Arbor said that when picking up an additional source of income, it is important to check with insurance to see that needs to be covered. But for some, such as Scott, additional protections for jobs such as private health care are a luxury. Whether it is delivering food or taking on shifts as brand ambassador, it should be considered that when combined with a full-time job, the extra work hours may lead to burnout or exhaustion. While taking on a side hustle while working full-time is tiring, Rappaport said that it is additional money that keeps her going.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Until then, good night.